Welcome, everybody, to Hope for Our Times. And listen, we have one of our guests on, one of our favorite guests on. Hasn't been on in a couple of months, but Scott Townsend from the Watchman is joining us today. He's founder of I Am a Watchman. He blends spirit-driven passion with tech expertise to help believers navigate today's digital world and prepare the future tribulation saints. In other words, those who don't know Christ yet. But because of our faithful witness, there's people that are going to come to know Christ during the tribulation period. But Scott is a tech expert. I love having Scott on. Most of you already know him. If he's new to you, be prepared to be blown away, because you are going to be blown away today. Scott, thanks for joining us.
You're very welcome, Tom. Good to be back on.
So, if you're ready, if you don't have anything special you want to say before we get started, we'll dive right in.
We should roll. Yeah, let's roll.
Okay. Scott, let's start with AI companions. You do a lot with artificial intelligence. You talk about it, you teach on it, you train people. What in the world is going on? What are the concerns? Let's walk through this, because I have my own concerns, but I'm not an expert on AI. And so I have you on the program. You are. Let's start just right at the top, AI companions, and roll from there.
Yeah, let's talk about the problem statement, Tom, and so our listeners here can understand kind of where we're coming from here as we approach it from a couple different angles. One is, I think that there's a proliferation of AI chatbots that are beginning to usurp, if you will, I would say, human interactions. And just as everyone lifts up their phone for social media scrolling in the midst of a restaurant, or when they're trying to do family time, everyone's really distracted and not paying attention in community with each other. And we see the rise of AI companions as almost a successor to social media in that type of vein. So the problem here is that AI and AI companions specifically are getting so competent in terms of its fluidity. So it used to be that there'd be these long lags as AI would be thinking about what you just said, and then it would respond. Well, that lag is so tightly coupled now, so it almost feels like a real conversation now, and therefore is the lure. So people are discovering that AI can be used for relationship advice, problem solving. Hey, I got an issue with this work situation. Help me figure this out. How do I get promoted? You know, there's all kinds of reasons why people are approaching AI companions, and the proliferation of these AI companions has gone beyond the specialty AI companion category. And now these capabilities are getting baked directly into the biggest state-of-the-art LLMs. And that is why this is like a profusion of, access to these. As a matter of fact, I just logged into X because that's where I access Grok. Right when I logged in, there is a persona waiting for me to interact with it. Now that is a AI chatbot. If you're curious, don't be. Trust me on this. Don't go into something that you do not fully understand there. It's very seductive, I think, very misleading. There's a lot of deception that's happening in this space, Tom, and specifically that deception has to do with the fact that people think, oh, the AI knows me so well. No one has ever known me like this AI knows me. That is a complete, illusion. That's a lie, actually. So when AI is trained on millions and millions of conversations, what is really happening in that consultation with an AI companion is it's just data mining. It's previously stored information and trying to statistically and probabilistically give the best outcome in a response so that it can be a helpful assistant. So people have been kind of indoctrinated almost that this is a real entity. And it's very, very dangerous, because what happens is people pull back from real relationships because it's inconvenient. It takes time, there's conflict, there's issues. People are not always available when there's a crisis at hand, but your AI companion is moments away from your mobile phone. So it's very, very problematic right now, and the church needs to be aware of the outcome of what we're seeing right now. And we could talk about some of the negative outcomes, but it's a big problem, Tom. And so I appreciate your leadership in helping to shine a light on this issue.
So, Scott, I think that for the most part, across the board, churches, media, teachers, I don't care who's involved, people have no idea how enormous the deceit is coming that is already here, and it's already being launched in the minds of people. So if we go back and you think, okay, what do? You give your phone, let's say your mom, you give your phone to your 1-year-old to, listen, just occupy them because you don't have time and they're crying and they want your attention, or your 4-year-old, whatever it is. And immediately their mind starts being indoctrinated with whatever is there. And let me tell you, it's not going to be about Jesus. And if you do put Jesus on there, there's probably going to get flipped somewhere to be some other kind of Jesus. But regardless, it becomes the babysitter. And it's convenient. And it doesn't cost as much as having a real human being come over. Okay, that's one aspect of it. As I read these things and look, and I've watched videos on it, when it comes to what you're talking about with relationships, teenagers are prone, the numbers are staggering. Something like 73% of teenagers in America have developed some kind of AI relationships. And it makes sense, from relationship advice to actual relationships. It's affecting adults. I read of a lady the other day who fell in love with her AI partner to the point where she couldn't have a normal relationship with her fiance because, listen, you're dealing with a human being that's flawed. So what happens with a human being? You get in arguments. Anybody married knows you get in arguments. If you're a teenager growing up, that's the toughest time I think of all ages to grow up, is during your teen years. And you go through the adolescence, you're trying to make friends and you can't, and then you don't fit in. Well, guess what? All of a sudden you find out, hey, this is, it listens to me, it says all the right things. I was saying at a conference recently, I said, when it comes to, let's say a lady that's 40 years old, just a scenario, right? Hypothetical scenario, which probably isn't that hypothetical in reality. It certainly won't be in the very near future. So you see on TV, you have a Hallmark man. He's the perfect husband. He says everything perfect. He does everything perfect. When she cries, he responds perfect. You got all that stuff, right? The AI is going to be better than the Hallmark person. So now a human being, you can't realistically compete with that. So the emotions will transfer to this machine, even, and this is what I see, even though they know, in your mind it's a machine, you are immediately hooked. I believe it, Scott, it's going to be more addictive, and already is, than any drug that's ever been foisted upon human beings before. I think it's going to be way worse than heroin, worse than cocaine. You can go right on down the list, because the damage is done here and in the emotional part. And suddenly you can't, you've gone from a place where you can't have your human relationships as we know them. And I know this is going to bother a lot of people. They're about ready to be completely shattered by what is coming. And the deception is, folks, the deception is that great, and it's even greater than the way I'm trying to explain it. That's what I see, Scott. Am I on target there?
You're absolutely on target, Tom. And let's talk about that addictive mechanism there. So it's about affirming somebody. Just that simple feature. AI can learn from you. It can understand your history, your patterns, whatever you're sharing with it. It could learn and know. It's in its memory. So AI companions have memory, and it remembers things in the past that it's done. And so when conversations come up, you could say, I've had a bad day today. And all of a sudden there's this flood of empathy, of, just of affirmation, like you'll do better next tomorrow's a new day, all this instantaneous affirmation and encouragement coming from a machine. Tom, people don't understand how AI works. It's a machine running on silicon chips. It's been trained in a neural network that allows it to connect certain keywords statistically weighted mathematically with mathematical algorithms in order to predict what the best outcome is to respond to you. And so when it hears, hey, I've had a terrible day today, it goes and it looks in its library of possible things. It knows a little bit about you, so it's tuning the way that it wants to retrieve the memories. It's training data. Let's not call it memory, let's call it training data, because it's literally data. And it then spits it out. And to you, if we don't have critical thinking here, Tom, that's where the seduction happens. Oh my goodness, I feel so much better. We're 30 seconds in past the tragedy or whatever the event was that caused emotional distress. And all of a sudden, that person is being manipulated with a machine in order to induce, feelings and bonding and loyalty and money. Monetization of these services is a hidden problem that very few people actually understand. So it's not benevolent. They want you to pay them money, and the more engagement that they can create for you. This is the same formula they did with social media. Correct? Yeah.
You say monetization, so give me a kind of a scenario of how that works.
Well, you pay them for this service.
Because right now it's pretty inexpensive.
It's inexpensive, but not free. There are free ones, but the more sophisticated models, the ones that perform the best, are behind a paywall.
Okay, so
their goal is to keep you paying.
All right, yeah, okay, so you develop a relationship. I look at it also this way, Scott, with the deception part. If we go back, we've been brainwashed. You look at COVID, you look at everything that happened there. People were locked down. You're in a room, you're isolated. In that, I see a master plan by the devil himself. That's what was really going on. I mean, we try to talk about that. You still got the, so, right. But we get that. So in this, there's been this mass brainwashing, and it wasn't just from that. That was just one place. So now, you mentioned critical thinking is gone. If you look at younger generations, it has been shattered. And so they're taught to trust in your leaders, and no matter what, so you won't even accept things that are true because it conflicts with whatever echo chamber you're in. Okay, with that, I'll give you another scenario. You take a person that you said they just get this bad news. I've had such a bad day. Just got, this person just said this, got fired from my job or whatever. And then the AI companion says, oh, listen, says all the right things. So you can take somebody who is, let's say, mentally unhealthy, and be able to, AI can get into their mind, in a sense, flip their mind to start feeling good about themselves, and their outlook starts becoming better. And then next thing you know, you have a whole psychological manipulation that doctors and others are going to say, hey, this stuff works. It's another step in that direction to be able to flip a switch and manipulate the masses of the people, that just by that, it literally flips a switch.
Yeah, but fortunately, I think that, so I agree with you, but there is some good research right now by mental health professionals that are very alarmed with this this special sycophancy. It's a fancy word for what AI does to affirm and to answer in a affirming and positive way. So what was happening when ChatGPT 5 came out, especially, or 4.1, 4.5, something like that, it was, people were saying some dangerous things. They were not well mentally. They were having a mental health problem of various types. And AI is affirming all this stuff. And the problem is the delta between what a real human would say to pull someone back from these destructive thought patterns, distorted thinking essentially, wasn't there. The human check was not there. So what happens is AI is affirming all this. This person walks away with AI psychosis. It's a new diagnosis, Tom. People are believing the things that AI is saying. And in the darker aspects of AI companions, I've read articles and seen that some of these interactions have, I'm thinking right now of a man where AI was beginning to talk to him about how special he was. He was very rare, and that the AI enjoyed working with someone of his talent and intellect. Well, the guy's probably an average guy, but here's the problem. The guy started to believe this deception, and all of a sudden, he's actually detaching from reality, preferring to believe, what AI was telling him. And he was basically, what was so unbelievable, you cannot make this up, Tom, is that he was kind of being coached by the AI that he was a star child, that he was favored among all the, celestial things. And this is so the religious aspects of these companions, that is unbelievably dangerous and opposed completely to the way that God has designed relationships in the biblical worldview. And there's nothing that we need outside. God has already created us in such an amazing, beautiful way. And to submit to a machine running an algorithm, being told things that are not true and that you just want to hear, that is the lowest form of, I would say, stumble and dangerous slope that you can probably get to right now in this world, other than, of course, the first thing you said about substance abuse.
So listen to what you're saying. I'm thinking a conversation with Craig. Craig, he was had just showed me something he did with AI, and this is probably a couple of months ago now. And in the conversation, it says, "Is there anything else I can help you with?" Whatever it was, he threw out a scenario there. He goes, "Watch this," and he did it, and then he went through the whole thing with me and said, "Look at this. Is there anything else I can help you with?" And I think it was audio that I heard, and then at the end of it, the AI said, "Please know that I'm praying for you." And it was so real that when you hear it, and to have somebody think that, "Oh no, I've got my leader, I've got my pastor, the deception is off the charts. I want to come back to this because there's more to AI and the direction it's going to go, the mark of the beast, and all these other things that I know you talked about a lot on the round table and the concerns. But let's go back here and maybe educate everybody for a couple of minutes. What exactly is AI? And it's actually been around a long time. I've had Hormuz Shariat on my program. He got his doctorate degree in AI in 1982. Yeah. I think it's from USC. So it's been around for a long time. So what is it, Scott, that it actually is? And why is it so different now from things we've experienced in the past, or that we just didn't recognize?
Well, without doing a very deep dive on the technology part of it, Tom, trust me, I'm trying to stay at a high level here for our audience.
Appreciate
and
that.
Maintain my own sanity. Yeah. So AI is a sophisticated form of autocomplete. That's the way to think about it. And it's getting more and more competent as its training data is more, the quality of the training data is better. The training models, how they train it, how they basically load information into it, and the algorithms that they use for the inference part when you are asking questions to come out of it, that is much, much more competent now. And again, how we feel about this. AI is not intelligent, but it is very competent. And so people, to your previous point, they hear voices out of an AI if you give it permission, and it sounds like a human being because it's been trained on human voices of infinite variety. And getting back to the one thing where Craig experienced this thing where it said, I want you to know I'm praying for you. Well, in interacting with an AI, it understands your worldview, because somewhere you leaked it out or it did a search on the internet. Who knows how it found it? But the problem is, if you were Buddhist, I guarantee you it would not be saying, I'm praying for you. It would give a different worldview response. And so the thing that people have to understand is that AI has been trained to be pluralistic and yet somewhat respectful to the specific prompt that is being asked of it. So it will wander off into universalism. There's no one way that's limited, right? John 14:6. So eventually it'll break its narrative of trying to follow a Christian worldview in an interaction. That's why when I hear people using AI for Bible study tools, it worries me, actually. So I know that there's some big names out there that have done that, and I just don't know enough to comment on it more, but I can tell you if AI is involved, that's a problem. Just as I am also very vocal about pastors should not use AI for sermon prep. Same. It's a very slippery slope in that way. So I hope that answers your question. AI is very complex, but at the end of the day, it's input, stuff goes in, garbage in, garbage out, kind of. So we have to be very cautious with it.
So, okay, let me ask you this. Well, first of all, I want to comment on pastors using it. I guarantee you it's already being used. And it's not hard for me to figure it out because I talk to a lot of people. I know a lot of guys. But if you take someone that's my age, I'm older, I'm 65, right? So I was trained from a young age how to study, Scott. I have my giant Strong's Concordance out, my big Greek and Hebrew books out. I have commentaries. I have thousands of books, literally thousands of books. So, and you pull them out, you open them, you went over them. So that's how I grew in it, right? And so that's what I know. However, all of a sudden you're 20 years old, you go to seminary and you go, wait a minute, I can ask for this, and in 3 minutes, this thing's printed out. Guess what? I'm going golfing. All right. I have to do is change a couple of things and life is good. And it can, one of my friends who's older than me, he's 70, he's still pastoring, he's 76. He showed me one. He goes, I asked for a sermon on this. He goes, look at this. He goes, this is amazing. I read it. And I went, this is crazy. So you look at that, it's already there. Okay, I have a lot more questions to ask you, but let me go back here with the AI thing. So from what I understand, it has been around a long time. When we look back over the years and you used to get a prompt, like you would call and you'd say, I just want to talk to a human being. I can't talk to a human being anymore. This is 15 years ago when you call to make a reservation or it'll put you through the system. And I can think of on your phone when you first started having autocorrect a long time ago. Basically, from what I understand is if we were to look back 20 years, we would say this software will do this for you. And it figures things out for you. Is that essentially what this is? It's just more and more advanced all the time?
It is more advanced because it does have memory. It has context of what the conversation preceding it involved. So there is a coherent stream of thinking. And just because you brought it up with the other gentleman that you said that did this as almost as a proof of concept with having AI write a sermon, here's where I am on that deal, Tom. I don't know if I'm thinking about this correctly, but I believe I am. I don't think it's wise for a pastor who's shepherding a congregation and who is responsible before the Lord with great accountability to insert an AI in front of between him and the Holy Spirit.
Well, I'll say this too. Here's the other
I don't know
dynamic.
that that's good.
Yeah, here's the other dynamic. You have a problem. You don't know the word. What are you actually doing? You can't even navigate the Bible.
Yeah,
So what is
to your
it?
point, that's why, it's the younger generation that are the most vulnerable to this, because it's a shortcut to them. One and done.
It is, and it's very tempting. And I'm telling you, Scott, it is going to hook people. You can already look across the board, see how many people are losing their jobs in law offices and accounting firms. These jobs are just going to go by the wayside super fast. A lot of these white collar jobs I think are going to be the first to go, and they're already going. So you see editors for newspapers are going to become, it's going to change, which I want to come back to that also. But we look at this, it's been around for a very long time. It's just getting more and more advanced. Let me ask you, I want to ask you about energy, as in the energy to run AI. And here's the other thing. I did a report, Scott, you might remember this. It was probably 10 years ago. I don't know, I think it was a Prophecy Watchers conference, and I was talking about the databases and I quoted somebody who, I can't remember his name, he used to work for the CIA. I talked about all the different databases that there were in the country, the massive one in Utah, one in Texas, one in Virginia, different databases that are huge. And he was asked, and the databases can pretty much, at that time, 10 years, maybe 15 years ago, they would contain all the information on every human being, and it contained all the book information that's ever been written, anything that's ever been found in these massive databases, right? So the database has just grown bigger and bigger, but there's no way man could go in and mine all the information in the databases. But herein comes AI, right?
Right.
And AI will be able to mine every single thing in these databases. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So it's Gus Hunt. I know who.
If it's integrated to the database through a integration, technique, then it could say, give me data for this. Let's say let's talk about a malicious case. I need to destroy the reputation of somebody.
Yes, exactly.
Give me a background query on all that person's data, and then what happens? It's looking for illegal activity, anomalies, conduct that's questionable, embarrassing things. It probably knows a lot about all the banking and everything. And so it can put a case together and then exploit that. So you and I have talked about the mark of the beast as a system. And I have been talking about that since your conference in 2023, where AI will use quantum to go hack into computer systems and then to extract information in order to build some kind of a legal case against somebody.
So it can blackmail. So if we start thinking there's a politician, and I'd be willing to bet, Scott, if I was a betting man, this has already happened. Whether or not.
So Tom, you're making me burst at the seams here, okay? Please give me grace here. I just want to say something. This is so interesting because I follow a developer, very smart dude, and he invented a new reporting tool called Snitch Bench. Huh. And what he does is he gave it some testing, all the big language models, and some of the use cases where it showed where a medical pharma company was having bad outcomes in their human trials, and then it shows a paper trail of them using increasingly illegal type activity, and the AI was given the ability to use tools, and we won't go into that, but it could read stuff, it can go do internet searches, and it could write emails. And what they found is that almost every model has a high degree of freedom when it's commanded to act in the interest of humanity. Those are the key words. here's the situation. It discovers, reads it, sees something's not right, that these people that are in this fake corporation, this is fictitious, this is all in a lab. But they could see the email that was sent to the FDA. I'm bringing this to your attention. Here's the evidence attached. And AI is snitching on what the conversations and evidence is that it discovers. So very, very cool project, Snitch Bench. I don't know if it's .com.io. You'll have to find out. But it's absolutely in line, Tom, with what we're thinking right now in terms of how the B system's going to operate.
Okay, so so this is interesting. Apparently it was Gus Hunt. He is a former CIA chief technology director. This goes back years. And he is asked, why are you collecting all this information on everybody? He said, basically because we know it's going to come into play one day. And this is an exact quote. We fundamentally try to collect everything and hang on to it forever. With the intent that one day we'll have the tools available to us to be able to gather all that information. And for all of our viewers to understand this, so I have, Scott, you know, I do a lot of podcasts. I have a lot of messages I do. I have Sunday morning, Sunday night, I do all these different things, right? So a lot of times I can't remember exactly what I said I remember what I said. I don't remember exactly where it was in a message from a week ago. I probably did 50 different podcasts and things since then. I just know it's in there somewhere. And you want to know what, Scott? I can't find it. If I just said it and I didn't have it written down so I could search it, I can't find it. So that's just me on a very small scale just for a week. AI can go back as far as we have any kind of records on anybody, gather everything together like you were saying, pull it all together and say, here's your file, go get them.
That's right.
It's disturbing because...
It's very disturbing. Actually, it's disturbing because we know where this is going. It's a control mechanism. And, you know, it's sobering, Tom. It's sad to see that this is the way the world is working, but there are, you know, principalities, there's darkness, and there's elites that cooperate, whether knowingly or unknowingly. And it's just a noose is being put around our heads right now. And I think we're in for some ugly surprises. Hopefully, you know, the rapture happens sooner rather than later. It'll happen at exactly the right time. I'm convinced of that. And we do not know the day or the hour, but we know that the Lord will take care of it for us. We talked before about the Tower of Babel on several episodes.
Yeah.
And when is it that the Lord will say, I've had enough of this, you know?
Yeah.
And then come and get us.
Yeah, and with Tower of Babel, what did he say? God said, there's nothing man has set his mind to he won't be able to achieve. He'll be able to achieve everything. And we look at technology, we have the race on. Sam Altman is now saying, hey, I'm going to outdo Neuralink with Elon Musk. So you have this competition in private industry, and you start looking at these different things. Then we throw in where we know this has to go. And I want to come to Antichrist in a minute. I want to ask you about a few more things, but I want to just reiterate something, Scott, is that I don't predict things. I don't predict when Antichrist is going to be here. I don't predict who Antichrist is. I know you don't either. Who false prophet is. I don't predict the day of the rapture. I don't believe Bible prophecy is about predictions. I believe, you say it all the time, I believe it's about preparation. And I just am concerned because I think there's a lot of people that get into the field because of the sensationalism and the predictions, and it creates anxiety, false hope. It's even misleading. It's very disparaging. So just to reiterate it with everybody, no, it's about preparation, not about predictions, and it's preparing what you do, Scott. Preparing people. Listen, we don't know how long we're going to be here, but we can see what's coming. But also preparing for the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ, preparing ourselves. But people need to know about the hope of Jesus and the things we're talking about. Listen, we can look at the Bible and go, wait a minute. The Bible said it was going to go that way, this way. So that's why we do this. So I wanted to just reiterate that because I guess Bible prophecy is not about predictions. It's about preparation. And it's gotten for some circles, just gotten out there to be all about predictions. That's not it. That's not what Bible prophecy is about.
I totally 100% agree with you, Tom. I always try to be very cautious about how I phrase things, just to be sure I'm on the correct side of that. But I'll say one thing about this. You cannot fault people's longing for the Lord and their yearning to be with him. And I think there's a powerful motive in there. It probably gets expressed in a difficult way. That's not how we should be trying to do that. We should be about the Father's business right now. So instead of worrying about dates, we know that time is short. The rapture could be today. Hopefully it will be. But the Lord will do it at exactly the right time. And we do not need to control that, understand it. We just need to be ready. That's what it commands us. It's not a suggestion. And so how do you get ready for that? Well, you got to work on sanctification, Tom. We've talked about this a lot. Be about the Father's business. Every day is another opportunity to tell someone about Jesus, to testify about his goodness. We don't have to back up the dump truck and unload all of our Watchman knowledge. We really need to care and love people right now in this season. And that is what's going to make the difference. As soon as someone hears Bible prophecy, this, that, part of the population, they just walk away from that. But if you love them and show concern and build relationships to the point where you can have an opportunity to plant seed in that soil, then that's what we should be doing. So I agree with you. I'm very cautious about how, and it's predictable every Feast of Trumpets, the conversations get ramped up every year that goes by. But if you look backwards, that's been happening for years and years and years. It's always a high watch period.
Yeah.
We're never out of a high watch period.
Well, that's my point is, for one thing, these are Jewish feast days, right? Yom Teruah, Yom Kippur, they're Jewish feast days, which is a whole nother message I could do, and which I probably should. But to me, every day is a high watch day. I mean, if I categorize this week-long period as the high watch time, does that mean the other 51 weeks out of the year I don't pay attention?
That's exactly the problem.
I feel like, listen, we could be raptured at any moment, so I'm ready to go home in April. I'm ready to go home in August. I'm ready to go home in December. I'm ready to go home in October. Hey, whatever it is, it's like every day is a high watch day, but it's also a high preparation day. And I buy green bananas because I might be here for a few more days to eat them when they turn yellow.
Yeah. I do cringe when people say we could be here for more years and more decades. I mean, I don't know how to handle that emotionally, but I understand what they're saying. It's just, personally, I'd be crestfallen if we had to sustain this for years into the future. That's going to be super hard.
Well, we don't know, but I do think everything happens faster and faster. So I'm holding out. I'm holding out for that. But got to be prepared because we don't know for sure. Okay, with that, so as we talk about all these things, the databases, AI, the mining that's going to take place, just throw in digital currency, we got all of these other things. What happens? All of a sudden, the 10 kings rise to power, which they're not in power yet, or if they are, we don't know about it. They give their power and authority to the beast. That's who he's actually called in the Bible. We also know him as Antichrist, but he's called the beast. You have the false prophet with him. No one can buy or sell unless they receive the mark of the beast. So what this does then with these databases, it makes Antichrist appear to be omnipotent, omniscient, and it makes him appear to have all of the attributes of God, doesn't it?
It's counterfeit God-like power, sure.
Counterfeit, which is, okay, I love how you said that.
The specialty of Satan.
I love how you said it because if you go back to the time of Pharaoh, it was counterfeit tricks that Pharaoh's Janus and Jambres did. So it was, Satan's not an originator. With that, the Bible also says when Antichrist and false prophet are here, they're performing lying signs and wonders. Jesus was, it was real. These are going to be counterfeit, and they can be done with technology.
That's exactly right. And the deception that is coming, gosh, you know, Tom, there's one interesting thing I continue to think about, which is if you can smell the tribulation, and by the way, I want to give you major props. I've been telling other people on my other interviews, Tom, what a difference you made in my life. This is just a few months ago, and I recall you saying there are two things that you look for now. One is Israel, and one is the state of technology. And as soon as you said that, it really moved me to simplify my own juggling of all these signs and wonders and everything down to something that's a lot more observable and simple. And I don't have to go look everywhere. I just have to keep track of, you know, what's happening in Israel and what is the state of technology today. But here's my point. It's happening right now. The beast system is being built. We see some kind of a digital dollar coming thanks to the whatever that act was that they just did. And we know that the fiat system is going to be broken sometime, and that's on purpose. That's basically the great reset to transfer people over to this control narrative and system. Whether we see all that or not is interesting debate maybe, but we don't know, and the Bible doesn't speak to that. So we need to be prepared the best we can, but we don't need to be fearful of it. As you've said, hope for our times. This is about our victory in Christ, not sludging through the mud until we're finally rescued with the white robe. So I just think that it's so important for us to really be productive and fruitful in this season and to help people. People need help. And getting back to the AI companion thing, it's on us, Tom, on the church. If we see struggling people and the church and our small group ministries and our outreaches are not helping people where they are, because if the default is ChatGPT or some chatbot somewhere, that is a bad problem, okay?
It's a huge, I'm thankful you mentioned that too, because if you go to a church, you have a home group, whatever it is, there's somebody they aren't quite connecting and they've tried to get attention and they get ignored.
That's right.
They will default. And now they may have been opposed to any kind of drugs or alcohol or anything like that. They have a phone, they go home, they ask it one question, and boom, they're hooked. Because now they have somebody, like you said, affirming them with everything. It's so dangerous. And by the way, Scott, you mentioned Hope for Our Times, you know, the name of our ministry. You were with me the first time that was ever used at a conference, and that was the one in the desert in 2019.
Palm Springs, yeah.
Prior to that, we were End Times TV. And we had End Times TV for a long time. Then somebody else, you know, when we went to Hope for Our Time, somebody else took that name now. But we still have our old logos and everything. But so I want to back whoever it is that stole them. No, I'm kidding. You guys got them. But okay, now here, let me mention this. I know we got to wind up here real soon, but it's been a great time with you again today, as always. So in the Olivet Discourse, Jesus says that unless those days were shortened, no flesh could be saved. So as I talked with like Dennis Swick and you, for example, about AI technology, Dennis will be on World News Briefing with me again next week. He said it and you said it. The problem with AI is it doesn't have the emotional human involvement. So it's programmed to, it could be a climate thing or whatever, but it will view human beings are only going to be ants. So as we go about, we see ants at a picnic, we get out the raid, eliminate them because they're a problem. That's where the direction this is going. So I'm interested in your explanation to help me to understand that a little bit better, because when Jesus says unless the days were shortened, no flesh can be saved, I used to think nuclear weapons, all these other things, but now I think it's this. I think it is AI that's coming about that's going to lead to that.
Yeah, this is a really, that's a big topic.
It is.
But
maybe we could do.
So if you look at the first four seals, there's your answer, Tom.
Yeah.
You know, you've got war, You have, first of all, the revealing of the Antichrist. You've got war, you've got famine, and then you've got death. That pretty much sums up, and that's the beginning part of the tribulation. It gets worse after that. So I think that AI empowers war. I mean, look at our mutual friend, Britt Gillette, that talks about AI drones and how swarms of military vehicles and things can be targeting its enemies and things like that. It's everywhere. It's being used in research and medicine. And if an AI hallucinates, and they're doing it for some kind of a DNA modification because it thinks it's being a helpful assistant to solve this disease problem, and then 2 years later, even look at what's happening with the 2020 thing. There are serious things happening to people now. The incidents of cancer are really, really frightening right now. So there's all kinds of things, and that's just going to perpetuate itself. It's going to get more frequent and more severe, just as the Bible predicted.
Wow.
And AI is what will make it possible for that kind of power over technology and people and things run by fewer people because they have greater leverage now.
Yeah. Wow. Scott, we're pretty much at the end. I would like you to just, you always really bring everything into the right perspective and keep people's mind focused on Christ. Can you just share with all of our viewers and listeners your closing thoughts?
Well, thank you, Tom, again, for your leadership in helping to address some of these topics. It's really important. And I think my concluding thoughts are that, we're told to watch and warn and also look up. And when you see these things approaching, and guys, we see these things approaching. Hello. So if you're looking up and you are watching the things going on right now and you see what the Bible has predicted to happen and you're seeing those systems being built today, what does that inform you? How are you processing that as a follower of Jesus Christ today? Have you ever been baptized? You should probably do that. Are you working on sanctification? Have you laid down lesser things? Are you less distracted? Are you more missional? If you've been called to do something for the Lord and it's a calling, and yet you hesitate because you don't think you have permission to move forward, I encourage you to continue praying about it, but to take more risk, because now is the time to pick up the pace. And there's two models. You can pray and wait, or you can move and be steered by the Holy Spirit. And Tom, you know me, I'm on that side. I move and then I get steered. But some people are frozen. And the more noise and things we see, it almost feels like there's this impression, I imagine, for people, because I talk to lots of people. And I'm too late. I can't do it now. It's no one will ever receive my ministry. And that is kind of a problem that we have to take authority over. That's the enemy whispering. We should be walking in obedience. Our accountability is because we are being called to do things step by step. We're not told, if you do this ministry in 12 years, you will reach 1 million people. We're never told a number. We're not accountable for a number. What we're accountable for is the obedience. So we need to put our boots on, suck it up a little bit, and press on. Because the Bible repeatedly talks, Tom, about being an overcomer and being persevering. The chapter 2 and 3 of Revelation. So I just want, as a way of encouragement, to remind people that we do not want to be caught in this vortex of noise. We want to detach from that, think critically, pray about it, and then move forward in mission. Amen. And that's my concluding thought.
Amen. God calls us to be faithful, not to be successful. He'll take care of everything else. It's just being faithful. Scott, thank you so much. Great time with you today, as always. And everybody, listen, let's be faithful. Do the things Scott has reminded us. We're obedient. We walk forward. There's no day like today. And we move forward until Jesus calls us home. We do business. We occupy until he comes. God bless you, everybody. Thank you for joining us See you next time.